Hello everyone. This is the second part of the story, Percy Jackson, the God of Magic. Chapter 6. After returning to the sewer, I became aware of something very troubling. What if the god I stole the weapon from was able to track where I used said weapon? That would be less than ideal. Okay, time to move, I sighed, knowing full well that was the right call, as I grabbed my only valuable possession, my magic book. Before leaving, I looked at the place that had been my home for months and, taking a deep breath, I went over the list of reasons to why I was running away from here. For one, I had no idea if the god I stole the weapon from would actually be okay with my mistake and forgive me, and even if they were, they would probably just take to that camp, and I did not want to go to that camp. Well, now I did, but not for the same reasons most go. And two, who am I kidding? There is no two. I just want to travel. You can't blame the ex-sick guy that has been living on a sewer for that. Alright, but before I go, let me put some glitter bombs in here. I laughed like I had become the Joker just there. Was I playing with fire? Maybe, if the gods were actually chasing me, they would surely encounter my magical glitter bombs, and while harmless, this would surely anger them, but if they were coming for me in the first place, they were already angry. So I might as well go out with the satisfaction of pranking deities. Alright, the place is full of magical glitter bombs, I laughed. Time to skedaddle. As I ran through the sewage system, I began to think about where I would reside now that I had lost my home, and immediately New York sounded like an obvious choice for me right now to pursue my current goals, stealing from the camp. So considering that the camp was located somewhere near that state, it was the best option. I wonder if the sewages in New York are comfy. I do have a basic standard I must keep, I laughed, wondering along the way if I could find a way to hide my godly smell with magic. If so, things would severely improve for me. Maybe I could enchant myself to smell like shit? No. But it's a start. I'm sure I will figure it out. Right now, I have to somehow get to New York on foot. Or, maybe magic is once again the answer. I did make a random bow appear, which is technically teletransportation. And there is no indicator. I can't do the same with myself. Meh. It's worth a shot. Troplet. M.O.T. When? Croy. A funny thing about made-up spells is that they can backfire terribly depending on how much of an idiot you are. Allow me to illuminate your minds. See, when casting a spell with mnemonic incantation, a single thought can change the result of the spell. For example, when I made the spell to teleport me to New York, I had singular thought in my mind, going to the sewages in New York. Now, here is where it lies the problem. I have not seen the sewages of New York ever, so instead of teleporting to where I wanted, or in a better case, exploding in my face, I was in the middle of a kitchen, with a very familiar woman, Sally Jackson. Now, many might be wondering, how in the fuck is this possible? Well, with my luck, I doubt anyone is wondering, but anyhow, allow me to explain. When a spell can't form the first thought you have because you either lack information about something in particular or something else to cast the damn spell, the motherfucker uses the next best thing in your mind, in the case the Jackson's apartment, which in contrast to the sewers of New York, I knew how it looked, and where it was located. But Adam, how is that possible? If that was the case, you would have teleported inside the demigod camp, right? I mean, after all, the information you have about this universe is from the books, and most of the time the characters are in there. If you said that or thought about it, well, right you are. I probably know more about the demigod camp and its layout than what I know about this apartment. But the spell also takes into consideration things like I would rather watch The Terminator in French 10 times than go there. So this was the next best place inside my head. Anyhow, back to the real world. I know what you're thinking, and the answer might surprise you. I smiled at the shocked woman. Please do not pray to any god about this. I will give you a cookie. Yes, fall for the cookie. Who are you? Sally inquired, not moving an inch. A dream. I answered with a shrug, getting a look that said really? From Sally, fine, I'm like your son. It's not his time, is it? Sally asked, feeling sad. Wait, how in the fuck do I know how this lady is feeling? No, I shook my head. I was just running from going there, so don't worry. I don't plan on taking the living sushi roll to the camp. Happy sushi roll, Sally snorted. Once again I could tell how she felt. Great, some get the power to throw literal lightning, and I get the power of 2 human eyes. Oh well, why are you running from the camp? It's supposed to be the safest place in the world for kids like you, worried. I know, but I enjoy my freedom. I chuckled. Living in the sewers can be quite comfy, once you kill all the rats and roaches, but after that, is just a place that smells like shit, like any college dorm. Worried, I can't let you live in the sewage. I think I can fix you up a bed with my son. Such a nice lady, but why would I ever stay in a place where one of the big 3 has eyes on? Nope, this place is a one-way ticket to camp. Laugh peels 1. I said, putting the nice lady to sleep. It was sweet of her to try and help me, but I'm okay. Alright, let's see if I can find something to erase her memory in my book. Chapter 7. After putting the woman to sleep, I decided to do something nice for her. It was a way to apologize for knocking her out cold with my magic. I would compel her husband to be a puppet of sorts. It was both a gift for her and a punishment for Gabe Ugliano. Besides, it's not like the guy survived. She ends up killing him, or rather petrifying him with Medusa's head, and after that she sells him to a museum, so for now, at least, I will help her out, just because I can. Call 1. With a spell, I woke up Sally, who looked at me in shock. Sorry for the sleeping spell, but I really can be close to your son. I will get caught. Worried, but no child should live on the streets. Sally lamented in tears. Seriously, this woman is too good for her own good. Now, the reason I woke you up is the next. I sighed. I want to brainwash your husband. Happy, worried, brainwash Gabe? Sally gasped, as I inwardly chuckled. Perhaps this emotion feeling power is not that bad. I don't think I can turn him into a puppet, but I can force him to not do stuff, like hitting you, or sleeping with you, or hitting Percy. I answered. Was I feeling bad for the prospect of using magic to take away the free will of a man? No, this man was maybe worse than the monsters hunting me, and if it wasn't for Percy, who is an innocent kid, I would have killed him just because I could. If you want, that at least would make your life less miserable. Happy, I accept. Sally nodded. All right, I smiled. Worried, there must be something I can do for you. Sally added. I will be okay, thanks anyway, I smiled. Worried, sad, very well, Sally conceded with a sad look. With that out of the way, I opened my book, going through the pages to find something to brainwash the turd living with the Jacksons. Haha. Oh wait, this is a lockup spell. The lockup spell would put non-magical creatures inside a magical loop, where they would only repeat the same actions forever, meaning this spell only worked on humans, which was good enough for the turd. Meh. This will work. Curious, happy, lockup? Sally inquired. It will put Gabe on a loop of actions forever stuck in time, I replied. So how often does he take a bath? And how often does he eat? I wanted to know so that I could force him to do those things right now and set up the loop. Disgusted, worried, once every 3 months, only with water, and 5 or 6 times a day. Holy shit, the guy takes 4 baths a year. No wonder monsters don't come near him, he must smell worse than the sewers. Ew. Just the thought of his smell was enough to shake me, and I lived in a sewer, so. Anyhow, where is the man of the year? I asked. Excited, disgusted, he went to buy drinks, Sally answered. Very well, I nodded. As if I had summoned him, An abysmal stench came from the apartment door to the kitchen like a summer breeze entering my nose unannounced. The smell was so strong it almost made me vomit. How could a woman, or anyone for that matter, sleep with that? There was no doubt. That smell was Gabe, and the worst thing is that he had yet to open the door, meaning whatever I was feeling was just the tip of the iceberg. Holy mother of me! I gagged, holding the puke in. There was no way I would be able to cast a spell if shit continued like that. Ikat yawa yms knees fo lems, finally. I was able to breathe without wanting to kill myself. I hold you in a fucking pedestal, right? You, to think you. Disgusted, that's Gabe all right, Sally muttered, her tone going unusually low. All right. Time to act. I sighed. If I felt bad before, which I didn't. I felt like a superhero now. This guy was the most disgusting thing I have ever smelled in my life. Woman. Sally. Come get the beers now. Gabe shouted, and Sally looked at me, and I shook my head off. I walked out of the kitchen, straight to the door and looked at Gabe. Oh gee, Akata ties. I ordered him to take a shit, and like an obedient dog he did as he was told. Once he was done I ordered, nail grew assa. This time I ordered him to clean his ass. Once he was done I ordered the next thing, te secnal nighties. This time I forced him to eat 3 lunches in one go, and for my last, peels no 8 kayak litnu woi eva ot taper esot sridro wormot emazimit. Once again he did as he was told and went to the coach to sleep, and would not wake up until it was time to repeat his loop. Now it was time to lock him up on it. Call ni azirf era emit smees ot pills, ilanreet era, ilanreet eret. Idamic woi ot revan eb erawa. As soon as those words left my mouth, the man known as Gabe was stuck in a loop. Forever trapped in time, eternally here, but never around. The spell quite literally meant that lock in a freeze where time seems to slip. Eternally here, eternally there, I command you to never be aware. Quite a terrifying chant, but one that served its purpose. Hopeful, is it done? Sally asked. I nodded. It is. Now I must go. Just remember to have his food and bath empty always at the same time. As for the showering part, just get creative, I chuckled. Euphoric, grateful. Before I managed to get to the door, Sally tackled me into a hug. Thanks for everything. If you ever need a shelter, my house is open. Thanks, but I won't need it, I chuckled as I opened the door, immediately feeling a surge of power that shocked me. Right in front of me stood a woman, looking to be around 16 to 19 years old, but I knew that to be a lie. Deep down I knew. Angry, amused, happy. Yes, you won't, the unknown woman said, her silvery yellow eyes glaring at me like daggers trying to carve me a new asshole, and I couldn't help but inwardly say fuck as I saw her auburn hair was covered in pink magical glitter, my magical glitter. Fuck. Chapter 8. There was no doubt that the one standing in front of me was no other than Artemis, the goddess of the hunt. Behind her was a man that emanated equally strong power, with golden hair and tanned skin, and with his body and clothes also covered in glitter. Sorry. The man, I could only assume was Apollo, looked at me and then asked, how did you get to New York so quickly? The power of Christmas? I jested. Apollo looked at me, and with a smile, he said, God of truth, try again. Answer, or suffer my wrath, Artemis growled. Knowing that since they had seen me there was no escaping, I decided to at least save Percy from an early kidnapping. There was no reason for them to take both of us. I will answer all your questions. Not all, if you make sure my spell on that man will last forever, and if it won't I don't know. Bless it. Sure, Apollo nodded and looked at the man for a second. There, I blessed your spell, it should last forever. All right, it was a pleasure, Sally, I smiled. Peels, once again I forced her to sleep, that's how I got here so fast, magic. I see, Artemis nodded, we will take you to the camp now. Not so fast, sis, Apollo interrupted, let's take our little brother out. He deserves a nice day before going to the demigod boarding school. I could go for some pizza now that is clear you two won't smite me. I chuckled. By the way, who was the owner of the bow? I asked them. It belongs to me, Apollo smiled. Very well, Artemis nodded, let us eat, so that we can go back to the camp. Huh, who would have guessed? She doesn't hate me like she would with any other male. Family perks, I guess. The rest of the day of my last day as a free was spent with Artemis and Apollo, going from restaurant to restaurant. They even took me to an arcade. How archaic. But I had a good time considering that my freedom no longer existed, for now. Besides, not everything was bad. I would soon get a cabin just for me. Being the only mortal son of Leto, I would stay in her cabin alone, which would give me more than enough time and space to plan my overly elaborated escape plan. And in the meantime, I would take advantage of Chiron's teachings to become a good fighter, so when the time for me to leave came, I would be Achilles 2.0. Thanks for the food, I smiled. I gotta treat my baby brother every now and then. Apollo chuckled, starting now. So, to the camp now? I inquired, getting a nod from both Artemis and Apollo. Say, what is the punishment for escaping the camp? Just curious. Death, Artemis answered with a grim tone. Alrighty. Note to self, be sure you can escape the gods if you get out of the camp. Seriously, little bro, don't try it. We can't protect you if other gods find out you tried to escape, Apollo said with a grim look on his face. Time to change the subject with this lie detector. Say, how is Mom's cabin? She doesn't have one, Artemis answered, but don't worry, one will appear for you. I will make sure of that. Thanks. So Leto doesn't have a cabin. Oh well, I have another question. How likely on a scale of 1 to 10 is your father likely to smite me? Just because? A3. Apollo hummed, he is always close to smite someone for anything. But if you're asking if he will have a personal problem with you just because of who your mother is? Then no, he won't have a personal problem with you, so as long as you don't do anything to enrage him. Got it, I nodded, and what about his wife? I read what she did to Mother, so I can only imagine what she would do to me. You two are untouchable being gods and all. Me not so much. If you don't come out of Father's seed, she won't do anything. Besides that, she hates demigods equally, Artemis answered. One last question, I chuckled, when will Mother claim me? Once you are inside the camp, both Apollo and Artemis said at the same time. Very well, I sighed, I'm ready. With a flashing glow, I was transported from the city to the camp, where I would be locked up until 1. I died or 2, I escaped, blinking away the light. The first thing I noticed was that there was a very familiar centaur in front of me, Chiron. Lady Artemis, Chiron said, kneeling in reverence as soon as she saw her. And noticing the lack of Lord Apollo in that greeting. Apollo wasn't here anymore. What can I do for you today? I have found this demigod around, Artemis pointed out. He is my little brother. Mother will soon claim him. A son of Leto, Chiron said in shock. Yo, I waved at him. I apologize, my lady, but where do you want me to put him? Chiron inquired. We don't have a cabin for Leto. Let me worry about that. For now, let him sleep on Apollo's cabin, Artemis ordered. I must ask, is Lord Apollo aware of this? Chiron asked. Yes, he is. Artemis glared at him. All right, thanks for the ride, sister, I smiled. I will come back after I fix the cabin problem, Artemis stated, and in front of others, is Lady Artemis. Duly noted, I nodded. I did not want to piss off the goddess that usually kills men for fun. I almost forgot, this is from Apollo and me, Artemis said, handing me a box before disappearing, and like the ever-curious guy I was, I opened the box. just to be blasted away with a powerful explosion of glitter. After the explosion ended, a note was left behind. Dear little bro, this won't come off for a month. With love, Apollo and Artemis. Well played, well played. Chapter -9. The first person I was introduced to at the camp after Chiron was a small and porky man, who was no man at all. He emanated such power that it was clear he was a god, weaker than Artemis and Apollo but strong enough to kill me. He had a red nose, big purple eyes that shine every now and then, and curly black hair. He kinda looked like a big baby, to be honest, and his name was Dionysus. That's Mr. D or Lord Dionysus, Chiron said, introducing me to the god with a worried tone. He's the camp director and protector of these lands. He is a god, prone to anger, activating the I don't want to die mode. A pleasure to meet your Lord Dionysus. Or you prefer Mr. D? I said, bowing in respect. Or is it fear? Nah. It's more like self-preservation right now. A demigod with manners, Dionysus snorted with mild amusement and clear annoyance. It must be the end of days then. And I don't care, kid. Just don't touch my stuff and you will be okay. As you wish, I nodded. Thank you for your time, Lord Dionysus. Chiron smiled, somewhat relieved about the interaction. Seconds later we continued our tour. He then turned his attention to me and said, one of our campers will show you around. I have stuff to take care of. Cool, I smiled, as I tried to figure out how the hell was he able to be here, and in Percy's school at the same time. Is Chiron able to exist in multiple places at the same time like the gods? Annabeth, come here, Chiron happily called a 12-year-old girl, the one who Percy would fall in love with. She came forward and Chiron introduced us. Adam, this is Annabeth Chase, daughter of Athena. Annabeth, my dear, why don't you show Adam around? And if you have the time, go and check on Adam's bunk? We'll be putting him in cabin 7 for now. Cabin 7? For now? Annabeth inquired, clearly confused. Worried, Lady Artemis is fixing that for now. He is son of Leto, Chiron clarified, and about his head some Greek letter floated saying worried, was up with that. Which means the close thing to cabins he is right now are cabin 7 and 8, but cabin 8 has a strict rule of no males inside. Intrigued, I see, Annabeth nodded, and once again the emotional spectrum floated above them. From what I could tell, she was older than me, not by much, being a couple of inches taller, looked like she went to the gym every day. Like for real, no 12-year-old should have a six-pack, is disturbing. Her skin had a deep tan and her curly blonde hair resembled Apollo. If I didn't know about this universe, I would have guessed she was a daughter of Apollo. Sup, I waved at her, and suddenly realized I was but an 11-year-old kid, never thought about that before, with being on the sewers and stuff, but the truth was I was just a kid, with power, cool ones at that, but a kid. It wasn't necessarily bad, but I just never thought of that before. Follow me, Annabeth ordered in a cold tone, as she guided me to cabin 7. As I walked, I felt like one of those people that move to small towns. You know, those places where everyone knows everyone, and that when someone new moves and the gossip spread like cancer on a Chernobyl tourist trip. Well, I felt like that. Every single demigod was staring at me, some with curiosity, others with excitement, and some with anger. The heck did I do to get enemies so fast? Must be because I look dashing. But in all seriousness, I have no idea how people can already have negative feelings about me. I literally have 10 minutes here. I have a question that has been bothering me since I saw you, Annabeth said, stopping in her tracks. Why are you covered in glitter? I snorted, oh well, this is the beginning of a war, you see. I might have glitter bomb, my brother, aka Apollo, and my sister, aka Artemis. And what you see is the result of their godly revenge. Magical glitter, of the cursed kind, meaning no magic or water, would remove until the time passed, a month. I am pretty sure people here will be calling me Glitter Boy by the end of the week. Pranking the gods is like playing with fire, you are bound to be burned, Annabeth warned, but I could see on her eyes she longed for that with her mother. I'll have that in mind, thanks, while I plan my revenge. I stood in front of the cabin, looking at the sign with curiosity, a lyre, and here I thought his symbol of power was a bow. But how exactly do you use a lyre in combat? Do you bore your enemies to death with it? Or is it more along the lines of serenading them to the point they are no longer your enemies, but your lovers? You know what option B sounds like something the horned dogs of Olympus would do. Well, Annabeth prompted. Go on. If you are in a hurry, you are free to leave, I smiled, feeling a bit annoyed myself. Her mood swings were getting on my nerves. Seriously, can you decide? Are you angry, curious, sad, or what? Welcome, brother, a random guy said, hugging me with a wide smile on his face. Not your brother, I chuckled. Confused, then. I'm confused, the guy chuckled, and the letters appeared again. Why was this so intermittent? He's your uncle, Annabeth snorted. That's right, I nodded, I'm the son of Leto. As soon as I said that, I felt something different in me, or rather something changing. As if Leto was right here with me holding me, the feeling was almost nostalgic, it was strange. As this feeling spread, a symbol of Mother Wolf appeared over my head and the howling of several wolves in the distance. Before I was able to fully appreciate the symbol, it disappeared as a feeling of calm and comfort washes over me. I had been claimed, just like that. Neat, we have an uncle, a kid in the back said. Does that mean he has to clean for all of us, you know, being the uncle and stuff? Another one added. Chapter -10. The camp wasn't as awful as I had expected. Yes, I know I lost my freedom, but I have certain advantages by being here. For one, I receive daily combat training. 2, the food is delicious. It appears out of nowhere if you are in the dining hall. All you have to do is think about what you want to eat and the magic of the hall does the rest. And 3, I have a small cabin to myself that Artemis and Apollo had commissioned for me. It was smaller than any other cabin, but I didn't have to share it with anyone, so I technically had the biggest room in the camp. As for the people in the camp, well, some were nice, like Chiron. He was a very interesting fellow, always happy to help and teach others, which is surprising considering he's been doing this job for thousands of years. I can't imagine a teacher working for that amount of time without hating his job in the end. Angry, would you look at that? The letters are pointing out the obvious. Testosterone is angry. Hello, glitter boy. A husky and annoying voice yelled at me, as I read a book I had borrowed, all right, stolen from Hecate's kids. I was going to give it back, eventually. What you do want, Clarice, I sighed, closing the book I had charmed to look differently to avoid the children of Hecate finding it. What can I say? I want to study their magic. Show more respect with me, newbie. Clarice demanded. God, the amount of testosterone in this girl is baffling. I would if I could, I smirked, but alas I can't. Sad, annoying her had become a newfound hobby of mine. What can I say? She was a bully and I adored messing with bullies. Even as a sick kid I annoyed them, which was the reason why her cabin had been in an unfortunate streak of bad luck since I got here. Which was what Chiron said, trying to keep the cabins in peace, but in reality it was me, summoning frogs, worms, or burning their clothes. And as a child of Leto, no one suspected of me, and they never would. I did not want anyone knowing I could use magic, and if my almighty siblings hadn't told Chiron, why would I? Super angry, well that's a new emotion, that's fucking it. Clarice exploded, running towards me. She was so easy to annoy. I almost felt bad by doing so. No, scratch that, it's fun. Co's deet, I whispered, tying her shoes one to another, making her fall face first to the mud I had conveniently created minutes earlier. Why do you ask? Well, I am a man of preparation, so I prepared in advance in the event of someone bothering me. And the result was magnificent. Inod knew, I whispered, this time undoing my shoe spell. What in the... Clarice muttered. Well, you seem busy. I smiled, pointing to the mud. Enjoy whatever it is you are doing, nothing like a good prank to lighten my mood. As I was walking to my cabin, Annabeth came up to me and with a serious look on her face said, "You know she's going to want to kill you if you keep doing that?" She was giving me the SUS look. What? I laughed innocently. It's not my fault that she falls in humiliating places which are perfectly positioned every time she tries to attack me. It's just a pure coincidence. I'm Athena's daughter. That answer might work for you with others but not with me, Annabeth remarked, looking at me with narrowed eyes. Well, then solve the mystery. I winked at her. I ain't telling anyone anything. I like being mysterious. It helps with the ladies, I chuckled. Yeah, right, Annabeth snorted. Now, if you'll excuse me, I have things to do. I waved at her with a cheeky smile on my face as I entered my lovely unofficial cabin, leaving an annoyed and intrigued daughter of Athena to wonder how I do what I do. Life is fun around here. And while messing with these kids was fun and all, I had things to do, like planning my great daring escape, with over-the-top antics and unnecessary twists. But don't worry, I also had rational plans like Plan 1, befriending Percy as soon as he gets here so that he takes me on his quest. During said quest I could pretend to die, and subsequently hide from the might of the gods for a while. Plan 2, wait for Luke to betray the gods, and escape during the commotion. And Plan 3, my personal favorite, do something so unbelievable stupid in terms of heroism that the gods would have no other choice but to offer me immortality. I had more plans like trying to save Talia, winning Zeus's favor using it to gain my freedom, but my magic was nowhere near that level yet. I knew it, so for now, I was going to play it safe. But none of those options were for the immediate future. For now, I liked it here. I had food, training, and people to talk to, and more importantly a source of knowledge about myself. For now, I would enjoy this, but that didn't mean I wasn't going to plan. It just meant I was going to wait for the right moment to leave. There was no rush. I still had plenty of time. For now, I was safe here, and I would learn. Like for example, I discovered the magic the children of Hecate use is systematically different than mine. They speak in Latin or Greek, and they don't do it backward, which shows their incantations are considerably easier. But what interested me the most was, they had one spell to block the smell of monster, or at least hinder their ability to track us. Too bad it wasn't in the book I borrowed for an indefinite amount of time without their permission, but I was optimistic it would be in the next book I was going to borrow. This marks the end of part 2 of the story Percy Jackson, the God of Magic. Thank you for listening. Please like the video and hit the subscribe button to listen more. Hit the bell icon to get notified of all the new content uploaded to the channel ASAP.